Welcome adventurers, what's going on guys? My name is Cody and this is Taking 20, a channel about all things role-playing games. And I want to once again welcome you back to Wrath and Glory Week here on the channel. All week I've been talking about how to play Wrath and Glory and we've covered a lot of stuff. So if you've missed any of the videos and you want to catch up, you can find links to all of them down in the description box below. Now before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to my sponsor for this video and the sponsor for the entire week of Wrath and Glory Week here on the channel, Miniature Market. Guys, I love shopping at Miniature Market and it's why I can personally recommend them to you guys. Their prices are killer, their selection is insane, and they've already got the entire Wrath and Glory lineup already at a discount even for their pre-orders. So please, a link to them down in the description box below. Go check them out. That'll let Miniature Market know that I sent you over. Today is all about character creation. So I'm going to walk you guys through the full process of creating a character in Wrath and Glory, and with my first character, Andrex the Skitarius. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you guys are following along with either your own copy of the character sheet, or if you want to follow along with this character in particular, I've included a link to that sheet down in the description box below that you guys can go and download. All right, the first thing we need to do is come up with a concept for our character. Typically, this will be a collaborative experience with the GM, or at least will happen after the GM has given us some sort of framework for the game. For this example, we're going to start at Tier 2, and we've chosen to play a human Skitarius of the Adeptus Mechanicus. So we're going to fill in the name, tier, rank, and rank bonus. The framework is basically the campaign name. Our species is human, and as such, we don't have any additional special abilities here. Our archetype is Skitarius, and the Skitarius get an archetype ability called Heavily Augmented, so we'll go ahead and fill that in here as well. Perfect. Next up is attributes. Because we are Tier 2, we have 200 build points to spend. However, the tier attributes limits chart found on page 72 tells us that we may still only spend 100 points on attributes even at Tier 2. During this step, we're going to simply spend our build points to increase our attributes as we wish. If you're looking at the attribute build point cost table, you guys can basically ignore that column there over on the right, as the column on the left will be the total build point cost for raising an attribute to the chosen number. So for this character, I decided to just use the standard build array, which you can find on page 76 in the core rulebook. This lets me raise 3 attributes to a 4 and 4 attributes to a total of 3, and has a total build point cost of 96. Again, guys, you can place these anywhere you like. However, you'll want to make note of any attribute requirements for your chosen archetype. For the Skitarius, we need to have at least 3 toughness, so it's really not a huge deal for us at this point. I'll go ahead and place my 4s into toughness, agility, and intellect, and my 3s in the remaining 4 attributes. Next up, we have skills. Skills function identically to attributes for this part of the process. We spend build points to acquire skills, and the chart for their total cost can be found on page 73. Again, for this build, I went ahead and just used the standard array for skills based on my tier, found on page 77. With a total build cost of 70 more points, this brings our total spend so far to 164 of our 200 total build points. As with our attributes, we'll want to make sure that we are meeting any requirements for our chosen archetype, and we'll need a ballistic skill of at least 2 and a tech skill of at least 1 for our Skitarius. The standard array at Tier 2 gives us 1 skill of 5, which I'll put into my ballistic skill for my main attack. We then get 2 4s, which I'll place into tech and stealth, sticking with my overall desired theme for Andrex. We then get 4 skills of 3, so I'll put those into athletics, awareness, investigation, and pilot. And finally, we have a skill of 2, which I'll just go ahead and throw into Medicae just in case. After that, we can simply go down the right side of our skills list and add any ranks that we have with the associated attribute for our skill total. So 3 ranks in athletics plus our strength rank of 3 will bring our total athletics to 6, and so on. The next step in our process is to calculate our traits. If you're like me and you don't want to memorize all of the different formulas for traits, you can find their calculations on page 158 of the core rulebook. Starting with defense, this is our initiative -1. Resilience equals your toughness +1. Your soak will be equal to your toughness score. Speed, of course, is based on your race, so for human, that's a 6. Shock is equal to your tier plus willpower. Your total wounds is equal to your tier plus toughness, and you become heavily wounded at least half your total wounds. And we're going to go ahead and just skip the armor bonus for the moment. Moving down to our mental traits, conviction is the same as your willpower. Our current corruption is set at 0, and if you're playing an archetype with a corruption bonus, by the way, that will be listed on the archetype section, so be sure to check there. Our passive awareness is equal to half of our total awareness, which is 7. So after rounding up to the nearest whole number, that becomes a 4, and our resolve is equal to our willpower minus 1. Finally, for our 2 social traits, influence is calculated as fellowship minus 1, although many classes do give a bonus to influence, so be sure to double check your archetype to see if you do have any additional bonuses there as well. And our wealth is calculated as simply equal to our tier. Now we're almost done with the first page of the character sheet, and the next step we need to do is to load in our gear. Your starting gear is listed with your chosen archetype. And so for us, the Scutarius, we start with a Galvanic Rifle and a Scutari Autocuirus. You can find the weapons section starting on page 272 in the Wrath and Glory Core rulebook, and it will give you a few details on what some of the weapon keywords and traits do as well. For our Galvanic Rifle, it does 10 damage plus 1 additional damage dice, and it has an armor penetration rating of 0, it has a salvo of 2, a range of 60 meters, and has the traits Rapid Fire 1 and Penetrating 1, which ironically increases its AP rating when you shift an Exalted dice during an attack test. Then for our armor, we start with a Scutari Autocuirus, which has an armor rating of 3. So we can now note that under our combat trait section. And once we've done that, we can slide back over to page 2 on our character sheet and make note of the rest of our gear. So we'll note the rifle, the Autocuirus, and then we get to choose a personal trinket for our character. For Andrax, I chose a shard of Wraithbone that always points to Galactic West, as I just really loved the flavoring here that he would carry something on him made of organic material instead of just more tech. Next up, we need to pick out our talents for our character. Because we have 36 points remaining, we obviously need to stay within that number. For Andrax, I decided to go with the talent, the Rite of Fear, giving my character a fear cone for enemies that may get a little bit too close to him. With a build point cost of 30, that leaves us with just 6 points remaining. 6 points that we need to spend as we can't really just bank them. So guys, a great way to spend remaining points is by increasing additional skills, as these typically will have very low costs and can round out your character nicely. So jumping back over to the first page, I see that my character has a lot of flavor that I really want for him, but he is lacking in one pretty glaring stat, his weapon skill, which is used to calculate melee attacks. But because I really like the idea that Andrax might view melee combat as unfavorable statistically and thus a waste of his time, I'll spend my remaining 6 build points to increase his survival skill, bringing it to our new total of 6, and thus bringing my total build point cost to the full 200 points. Now we can jump back to our second page in our character sheet and fill out the remaining bits for our character. Any keywords we've picked up should be listed on our sheet. So we get the keywords Imperium, Adeptus Mechanicus, Scutari, and a keyword of our choice for our chosen Forge World, which all go with the Crown of Miracles. For our objectives, these are listed at the beginning of your chosen archetype's faction. So for Andrax, these will belong, of course, to the Adeptus Mechanicus. Though I should mention that the book suggests that you and your Game Master come up with at least 3 additional ones for your character. If you find that to maybe be a little bit daunting, there's no reason that you couldn't just add 1 more if 3 does seem like a little bit much and just roll a d4 instead of a d3 or a d6. After that, we can choose a background that will give us an additional small bonus for our character. These options are found on page 186, and you can choose from your origin as your background, your keyword, an accomplishment your character may have been through, or a goal for your character's background. For Andrax, I chose his home forge world of the Crown of Miracles for his background, which gives me either an additional wound or a +3 bonus to shock, which is what I went with. So sliding quickly back over to the first page, we'll go ahead and change our shock trait from 3 to our new total of 6. Next, any character with the Orc, Scum, or Imperium keyword may choose 1 bionic to start the game with, if they so wish. Because Andrax falls into that category, and because being a Scutari, he would probably jump at the opportunity to further enhance himself with more bionics, I went ahead and chose the Augment Telescopic Eye. Again, more for that sort of Deadshot soldier theme I kind of have going on, which is admittedly on the weaker side of my overall choices, but still one that I'm pretty happy with. And finally, we can fill out a little background information on our character, and just like that, we're done. So not an overly complicated process, and hopefully now you guys have a better understanding of how to create a character in Wrath and Glory. Once again, I want to give a huge shout out to Miniature Market for helping me put the entire week of Wrath and Glory Week together here on the channel. And I want to give a big shout out to all the kick-ass patrons, all you guys over there at welcomeadventures.com. I see you, I appreciate it. If you like this video and you want to support more content like this and grab some exclusive rewards for yourself, welcomeadventures.com is a great way to support the channel. If this is your first time here and you love role-playing games as much as I do, I'd love to have you subscribe. Every week I put out new videos on GM tips, player tips, tutorials, and more. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, just hit that subscribe button down below and come join us. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Cody, and may your games be filled with awesome memories and even better friends. I'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah.